I'm Carrie from the Just One More Fix podcast, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, the opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
This guy gets more airtime than the Kardashians, right?
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
Welcome back to Earth 2's favorite newspaper, the Starling Tribune. I am the chief editor tonight. My name is SP, and your award-winning reporters for this episode number 197 of the Starling Tribune are Chris.
Totally nuts, even by my standards.
Is it like Planters, peanuts, nuts? Are we talking cashews, maybe some almonds, lightly salted?
Honey roasted almonds.
Sugary and salty. And Michelle.
Please save gratitude for when I'm sipping on an umbrella straw on the beach, safe and sound in Maldives.
I need to find out where Maldives is on a map because that sounds like a great place that I wouldn't want to be with Russian Bratva retired there.
But it's Anatoly. He's our friend.
Anatoly and Oliver piss each other off. Maybe friend, maybe not. You never know.
This episode, friend, we'll talk about that.
Okay. So this podcast is recorded on Sunday, May 13th, 2018, live via geeks.live.
That's right, and this evening we'll be discussing Arrow, including speculation about future episodes of the show, and we may also discuss and come up with our own predictions about The Flash, Supergirl, Legends Tomorrow, Vixen, Constantine, and the rest of the DC television universe.
If you're new to the show, thank you for searching us out on the internet and joining us. After the show, you can check out our content at GonnaGeek.com, where you can find other geeky videos, podcasts, and articles.
The GonnaGeek.com network, a favorite of ours. Thank you very much, Michelle and Chris. Michelle, I think it's time to go ahead and break down the current episode of Arrow for us.
Yes, this is episode 22 of season 6, The Ties That Bind. It aired Thursday, May 10th, 2018. It was directed by Tara Mila, whose credits include 1 episode of Arrow and 2 episodes of Hawaii Five-0. Written by Ben Skolowaski, who's written 2 Flash and 22 episodes of Arrow, and Oscar Badarama, who has written 15 episodes of Arrow.
A really astounding writing team mixed with a really newbie with Tara. So it was above average for this year. At least that's my initial opinion. And my opinion doesn't count so much. Everybody else's opinion counts really a lot. So we're going to break down the weekly ratings for the CW comic book shows. We're going to start out with Supergirl that aired on Monday, the 7th of May, 2018, with the episode Trinity. I actually watched that. Michelle, how did you like Trinity?
I liked how it explored the alternate world and showed where the world killers went or came from and where the real people go. I thought it was interesting.
It was indeed from that aspect. So it had a live rating of 1.60, which is on the higher side for the latter half of the season. Flash on Tuesday, the 8th of May, aired the episode Harry and the Harrisons, which was a nice title for the episode, although not complete to what the episode was all about. Anyway, it had a live rating of 1.74, which was the high for the week because Arrow aired this episode that we're talking about, The Ties That Bind, on Thursday, the 10th of May, to a live rating of, get this, guys, the first number starts with a 1, not a 0. Yes. 1.35. And I think we're seeing a little bit of resurgence for the series, especially since it has been renewed for another series season. Series, British call it series, Americans call it seasons. And we get the penultimate episode, and next week the ultimate finale episode. So, yeah, a lot of resurgence there. So that's good. I'll call that a win. Michelle, what do you think? Is that a win?
Yeah, it's a 3. There's a 1 and then there's a 3. We've been getting 1.0s, 1.1. So 1.3. That's good for this show.
Yeah, like
Right
I said,
now.
I'll take it for a win. Chris, what do you think? You take it for a win? I know you were pumping your fist like Data there.
I'll take it for a win right now. They needed some good signs as the season wraps and you've got new showrunners coming on board. Get people excited again. See if the finale coming up, since this is the penultimate episode, can set that hook the rest of the way and get people back for another year.
You know, we at one point in time talked about sticking the landing. I'm not even going to say that anymore because the season has faltered so much. It's not sticking the landing. It's reviving the series for the next season. I think that's what they got to set the tone for.
I think they just need to swim back to the boat. That's all they need to do right now is just to swim back to the boat. Who cares if they lose shoes or a scarf or whatever? They just need to swim back and get on the boat.
Just keep on swimming.
Maybe you'll get to Leon Yu that way.
Well, it's kind of blown up. There's not even a super secret prison there anymore.
It's still there. It's just might be under some rocks or
It could
something.
be smoking still.
I mean, take a look at Hawaii. The volcano erupted in Hawaii. Did the island go anywhere? No. Yes, there was some lava, took out some houses, but the island is still there. Leon Yu is still there.
For now.
It's just very difficult to build a summer house there.
I think
Sure.
the climate makes it difficult to build a summer house there. Anyway, we're going to move on into the episode. So the overall theme, we usually go into the title and explain how that relates to the theme of the episode. Michelle, you do such a wonderful job of that. Why don't you tell everybody what the theme of the episode is?
Well, the ties that bind everyone together is Diaz attacking everyone. And I know the season has been uneven, but this opening sequence is actually pretty good. We have moments with each. We have Oliver, and then we have Diggle, and there's Curtis. So we get these moments with everyone. Now, SP, you're the one here married with kids, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you're the one kind of like Oliver, because Oliver is like, I'm married now, I got a kid, and he's been going, if people find out I'm Green Arrow, it's going to put us in danger. And now the bad guy knows he's Green Arrow, and he knows where he lives. Do you think Oliver should have moved?
Oh, yeah. He was completely out of his league by staying there in the apartment. They should have at least gone down to the bunker, which I know was known by Diaz as well. And they've also talked about the Argus safe houses. I think Argus could have provided a good safe base of operations for Team Arrow and the Crybabies too, whatever we're going to call them as well. But I guess they decided not to. I think it was because of plot, just because they wanted to blow up the Arrow Cave, which bye-bye Arrow Cave. We'll see that next year.
Well,
but
I mean, and eventually someone's going to ask Argus, hey, why do you keep giving away all this material to a bunch of folks? Why do we have people coming in and using our super secret bases that then get blown up? Or maybe she just couldn't do it because of auditing purposes. She is the director. She doesn't want to get audited by her higher-ups.
well, that's fair enough. But
I'm talking out my butt here. Don't listen to me.
well, it's legitimate concerns, actually. So way to talk out of your butt with legitimate concerns. But
It's a gift.
I think that it's, well, I don't know. Just don't stay there. I'm just thinking of where he could go, and it really doesn't matter. Just don't stay there because you know they're coming for him at some point. He just thinks he's going to take down Diaz with his army and not get hit back. I mean, this is straight out of the Untouchables, if anything else, right? You hurt one of ours, we put one of yours in the morgue. Yeah, that's the Diaz mentality. So, no, you're not safe at home.
But we wouldn't have that moment when they're cooking breakfast for dinner, which breakfast for dinner is amazing. And if you disagree, we will have words.
It's Brenner.
Exactly. But then we have all these guys bust into Oliver's home. Right, Chris?
That's right. Because, yeah, we can't have the peace be kept for long. So Diaz's thugs just break in right after Oliver gets a little message warning from Anatoly to know something's coming on. You've got people coming through windows. You've got people coming through the front door. And there's gunfire everywhere. Thankfully, there is a fairly sturdy bed that Felicity and William can hide behind so that no rounds penetrate that mattress.
So we've talked about the window replacement company idea for Starling City for years now on this podcast. I have my bad. I'm sorry for not giving good sage financial advice for entrepreneurs in the Star City area. Yes, window company is great. If you want to earn even more revenue, become a window and door replacement company.
Yeah, there you go.
And also start a company that specializes in cleaning up glass. Glass is very difficult to clean up completely.
Well, that's what the window company is for. The other specialization might be bullet removal specialization.
Drywall repair.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of drywall that got shot up, so they're going to have to go and fix all of that. So really, if you're a general contractor in Star City, you can make some good money by following around the Green Arrow.
True, but you'd have to market it. You'd have to say like superhero cleanup company.
Green Arrow, we'll call it damage control. We'll steal it from Marvel.
Yeah, sure.
Diaz also strikes a variety of places. We see Diggle at the hospital. He's with Lila. He's been giving a clean bill of health. Diaz's guys go and shoot up a hospital. Okay, I really liked how Lila and Diggle took care of things there. I really like that. That's sort of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing they got going on all episode.
Hashtag relationship goals.
Hashtag divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah, hashtag divorce, then get remarried. Anyway. So SP, we also see Curtis and his boyfriend. What are they up to?
They're up to a date, which is really an excuse for Curtis to work late. But again, they're in a loft with a bunch of windows. I believe it's Felicity's loft too. And the windows get broken and they get attacked. And the boyfriend ends up with a bullet wound to the throat area, the neck area, and needs medical attention. And Curtis successfully actually defends the attack off, which, okay. He goes through spurts where he's competent and then not competent. Competent, not competent. He's this former Olympian and then he gets beat up all the time. So it's hard to tell from the dichotomy of Curtis or Mr. Terrific what you're going to get from time to time. But yeah, I'll take it that he's able to thwart off thugs trying to kill him.
Well, he gets both this episode. I'm sure we'll touch on it. He has moments of competency and pure incompetency.
Yeah, he has a moment.
Yeah.
And then we get a nice little moment with Renee and Zoe. They're in his place. And I don't know. I don't have great furniture that can stop bullets. Chris, do you have a couch or a table that can stop bullets?
I don't think so. I mean, my couch is heavier duty than Renee's, and I know that my end table or dining room not dining room, whatever the table is they have in the living room, I know it's thicker than theirs, and I'm pretty sure a bullet would pass through that because they're shooting at a table that's maybe like 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick, and nope, not a single bullet passing through. I'm like, that's not safe, guys. It's because plot, though.
Well, no, the same people that make the costumes actually also make superhero furniture. So you have, the protective, bulletproof couches and coffee tables and metal chairs that can be used as weapons, that sort of thing. I mean, you have to outfit your apartment, your home, with protection and assault weapons.
Is Renee not unemployed currently? How does he afford such?
This would be before, when he was deputy mayor, whatever.
He was the assistant to the deputy mayor.
They make a lot of money, man. Don't knock the government servant.
I guess that's true.
So they have the means to fortify their furniture, but not their windows and doors.
Well, they got to keep the local companies in business.
Oh, so it's for the economy that they're incompetent.
It's always the economy, stupid.
Oh, okay.
Well, you would think, though, especially if you're Oliver Queen and your secret identity is at best a sort of well-kept secret, if you're lucky, you might want to reinforce your home a little bit. Let's be honest. Wayne Manor for Bruce Wayne, fairly well enforced, whether you can see things or not. that are protecting it. Oliver Queen's loft, not reinforced at all. No gadgets, no traps. I was very disappointed there. I was hoping for like the boxing glove arrow or something like that.
Yep. I could definitely see a better base and home defense coming into play next year. I think Cisco can take care of it.
Yeah, Cisco can get him some like killer robots or something.
And something to detect bugs and other surveillance devices.
One would think you might want to sweep for bugs. We learned that lesson though a few times.
SP, what happens with Dinah in the alley?
Oh, that was great. So, she's out trying to find information about Diaz and ends up with this thug who turns into bait, actually. And she gets accosted by, 3 or 4 more thugs. And she does the cool thing. It's not a boxing glove arrow, Chris, but it's a cool effect of sound waves that bounce off of things. So she actually affects herself by bouncing the sound waves off the brick wall in front of her, but it hurtles everybody back. And I guess just because she's right at the center of the origin, she doesn't get knocked out like everybody else. But that was pretty cool. I mean, I got to hand it to her. She's out there trying to do stuff. And it was just cool watching her fight. She was the only one who was in costume fighting already when this happened.
Yeah, she's unemployed. What else she got to do besides prowl the streets? Curtis is hanging out with his boyfriend. Renee's hanging out with his daughter. She's the only one on New Team Arrow without much to do on a night off. Good for her.
I don't know, maybe they should be guarding each other. I'm just saying. Again, the Untouchables.
Yeah, I mean, one would think that Diaz is rather cranky that his master plan to put Oliver in jail didn't fall through.
Yeah, and because Diaz's let's put Oliver in jail plan failed, he finally says the line. He says, should have done this months ago. And this is blow up the bunker. And they beat up. Felicity's watching. Is like, oh no, they're beating up this. They're beating up this. And then it goes boom. And this brings everybody to the newbies hangout. And everybody's together. And I guess.
Wait a minute. Question. So we saw that Oliver Queen's suit was in the bunker as they were ravaging it. Where did he get the suit to do the rest of the episode with? He only has the one.
Oh, he's got a spare.
We've never been told about a spare before.
He's got to have a spare. Otherwise, I'm sure he does. Because you can't always make it back to the bunker if you got to go out and do heroing. I'm sure he's got a few stashed.
You guys are assuming he has a spare. I'm not assuming that. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. If he's got spares, then there's a whole other bunch of stuff that can come into play, like another spare arrow cave somewhere.
No, I'm sure he has a suit in his closet. Where's my super suit? It's right there. I think that's what it is. He just has another one in the back of his closet at home.
And he's trying not to say that he's the Green Arrow.
But
Not
William
very
already
hard.
knows. William knows, though.
Well, I know. Okay, William and Reza and Felicity, but what if there's a search warrant against his home? That seems to happen more often than not.
Okay, it's in a special behind a fake panel wall part of the closet.
You have a very low threshold for the intelligence of SCPD.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty dumb.
I mean, they all fell for Diaz, and they don't know how to band together, even though they are trained police officers. They do not know how to band together to overthrow this random dude who came out of nowhere.
Yeah, let's keep in mind the SCP. Sorry, go ahead.
Oliver fired the captain. They're leaderless.
Well,
and they got rid of Dinah.
That doesn't matter much. So let's remember, the SCPD is on their 3rd generation of cops after being wiped out 2 other times before that, near completely.
Probably 4th.
Yeah, so it's let's take a Battlestar Galactica analogy. The pilots you had in season 4, they're just learning how to fly, nowhere near as good as the pilots that you recruited in season 1. You're at the bottom of the barrel.
Just because you weren't a good enough actor to be cast in season 1 doesn't mean necessarily that you're not as good as a pilot.
Well, one would think they would have recruited the better pilots as soon as possible.
I don't know. You'd have to talk to casting about that.
That's true.
It seems as though the writers wanted this to be a momentous occasion, bringing them back together. Did it do its job, Chris?
So was it a whimper or was it with a bang that they came back together? And I would say it was almost with a whimper. It was, okay, we've got to work together. You didn't get like one defining moment, like the all hands in corny kind of thing. It was, I know trusting me is hard, but you got to trust me. And I wanted to be like, but Oliver was right most of this season. It really shouldn't be hard to trust him.
SP?
Yeah, the banding back together thing. I was thinking about this during this when I was watching this episode going, I know where they want us to be at this point in time in the season, but starting in like November timeframe to last month, so 5 months, you have completely taken the show off the rails, and now you're expecting us just to go, oh, it's really cool. I like it now. You know, a whole bunch of underlying fundamental flaws in the entire season, which leads to this going, really? Okay. I mean, at this point, we've got to watch the show if we're going to podcast. And I think a lot of other people are just watching the show because it's part of the Arrowverse, #Arrowverse. So I don't know. I have a lot of troubles with this season, and I need to get over it because there is going to be another season. So
Oliver actually has a good rational decision about how they just can't go in after Diaz. Just they need a plan. And he does call Anatoly. And Anatoly actually helps. He has this idea of, we need to get Diaz in transit. Don't worry, I can do this, Oliver. And this is great. They're in the van. I love how Anatoly complains about the comforts of the van. He's like, we have better vans. And Diaz is like, hey, this is protective. Then they stop with the trope of construction. But then the forklift comes in and kills the two drivers.
no, I think the bullet kills the two drivers, right?
Well, it comes in, it smashes. I think the bullets probably just put them out of their misery or something. But that was brutal, but I liked it.
It was different. It felt John Wickian, for lack of a better term.
You would think for an armored personnel carrier that the front windows would have been a little bit more fortified to maybe deflect the forklift up and over, but I don't know. I digress. It was the first time that the team had any sort of tactical or strategic advantage during this entire season. So they took advantage of it. The one thing I have to say about Anatoly, yes, he was helping them, but let's not forget, he's the one who really betrayed Oliver at the beginning of the season to begin with. So
now Oliver became that whole kind of Bratva. He used the Bratva to get what he needed. And then he was like, hey, I'm the captain of the Brava. You need to do these things for me. And then the Bratva's like, okay, you have to do this. And he's like, nah. Well, he really wasn't a great Bratva brother.
Which didn't help Anatoly, since Anatoly's the one that vouched for him and brought him in.
So in Bratva terms, Oliver started it.
Maybe I seem to remember an entirely different thing. Like Anatoly betrayed Oliver in the end, or at least was doing some stupid. Like, okay, so you come in and you're the friend of the mayor and you want to do some criminal activity. You don't try to take over the city at that point. If you're going to continue to use that brotherhood, friendship, whatever you want to call it, between the two. So, I mean, I'll just go back to, in my opinion, Anatoly was at fault, but I don't know. I guess we disagree there.
True. Now, this is the moment where Curtis, I don't know, SP, you talked about how Curtis was inconsistent. This is the moment you were talking about?
No, it has been throughout his character's arc of the last 2 years, but this episode is just a microcosm of that. So he's very capable of thwarting off the attack at the beginning, and then he knows he's the one, and they actually mentioned it in the episode. He's the one who talked to Dinah and said, "Oh no, don't do that. Don't go off the rails just because they killed Vince. You don't want to do that." And now because his boyfriend is hurt and in the hospital, he thinks he can go and get Diaz on his own. Diaz is a powerful man, and I think Curtis has been beat by him before. I think he would have learned that he's not going to do any good going after him. And then the rest of the team, nobody followed him for a while. I mean, I know they're in the middle of a fight, but like if you're in a dogfight and your wingman goes off, you need to go with your wingman, or else both of you are vulnerable. It's the same thing here. Somebody's got to be his wingman, and nobody is. So it's confusing to me on the team, which hasn't worked together in months because of stupid crap. But still, if they're going to be out in the field together, they got to watch out for each other's back, and they need to not do stupid things like what Curtis did.
Right, and you would think that the new Team Arrow guys would be used to working together, so at least either Dinah or Renee or something like that should have gone off to help him. It's Oliver in the end that comes in there to help him before he gets almost killed.
He did have a bloody face.
He gets stabbed too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Another couple inches either one way and they said he was dead. So, I mean, Curtis got pretty roughed up because he made a bad decision to try and go off on his own and be the hero. And while Oliver might be able to take Diaz on his own, as we've seen before, Curtis has not been the strongest of fighters, and especially compared to Oliver, he's not. So, factoring the fact that Diaz is a decent fighter and that Diaz is going to cheat, Curtis was screwed.
Yeah, it was a bad move.
Yeah, very bad move. For a genius, he doesn't think.
Yeah, it was one of those, oh, look, a smart guy's doing a dumb thing again. Well, eventually they find out that Diaz has a file, and Felicity's digital sniffer thing will help, and they have to go to the SPCD and such. So, Chris, what did you think of their plan with Lila going in and everything?
I liked Lila's reasoning of, well, I should be the one that goes in because you can't really turn away the director of Argus. While they're not domestic law enforcement, police do have to cooperate with Argus. So it made sense. Even if they're dirty cops, they at least have to put on appearances to an extent. Having her plant something to do the sniffing, that's great. The thought of keeping the non-combat trained person in the car outside of the SCPD where all the guys are with guns and fighting experience, that's a good idea. And that's how it should have been. That's not how it was. And I'm sure we'll touch on that, but frustrating.
So you've got, yeah, I've been saying this for a while, guys, and you know it. Felicity needs some combat training. And yes, she's been in tough positions before, but they've taken away the tough field training that they used to do. I'm trying to remember. I think it was season 3, maybe season 2, where she was actually physically training and stuff like that. And she's not anymore. If you want to be part of Team Arrow, I don't care if you have William or not. You need to be in some sort of shape to defend yourself. And she is not. Maybe she's in shape. She doesn't know the self-defense techniques that she really needs around a superhero team. So when she goes in, and I had a tough time watching that fight, which was a really cool orchestrated fight, by the way. But I couldn't tell if the team knew she was there. Kind of like Groot at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where the whole team knew where Groot was and they were protecting him. I wasn't sure if they knew that she was there or not until she popped up and she was in danger the 2 or 3 times in there. It would have been nice for the team to have coordinated some sort of defense around her as she's moving into the SCPD, and they didn't. So I don't know.
Right.
Again, the team hasn't worked together for a while, but at the same time, they know each other well enough to be able to do some of that.
So there's a few problems there. One, she ran in the middle of the fight and didn't tell a single soul. They're all on comms. If you feel you have to go in there, at least tell them, because you're a liability when you wander into the middle of a fight like a lost little child and wander around. People are going to get hurt when they notice you there and try and have to defend you, things like that. So tell someone, or tell someone else, go pick up the sniffer because you're in there and you're a competent fighter. And then don't give people attitude after the fact, like, well, I had to go in there to do that. No, you didn't. You're not trained. You were a liability. You being in there could have ruined everything, because we already saw that Oliver lost focus when he saw she was there and focused directly on her and had to save her. I have severe heartburn with not picking up the phone, for lack of a better term, and be like, hey, somebody go get that sniffer.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. She's running in there, and I'm going, wait, Lila already knows to pick up the sniffer. They all know that the sniffer's in there. For some reason, Felicity wants it back. Perhaps it can be traced or something. And right, she didn't need to go in there. And I know it was unnecessary marital tension. You know, why can't they just work together and be happy?
It's the typical problem you have in this show at times, which is it's a bad idea unless Felicity does it. And then it's a good idea. We've seen it before. If Laurel had run in there in season 3 as the pre-fully trained Black Canary to do something like that, they'd have been all over her. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You're not ready for this. It doesn't make sense to me, and it frustrates me that there's kind of this weird double standard on some people. Yes, she wants to be involved. Yes, it makes sense. She's Overwatch. Her role is to be Overwatch, to provide coordination in the field, to provide hacking. She shouldn't be in the field unless it's a last-ditch effort. But you should never really hit that point, because you don't put a liability out there. And that's what she is in the field. And it's just like everyone's like, oh, you need to let her do it. You need to let her do it. No, you don't. It's dangerous.
Train her to do some of that stuff.
Right. And it's just brushed aside by almost everyone in this episode. And I don't get it. If you put a liability in the field, it should be a problem.
It's the same reason Renee's betrayal of Oliver was pushed aside for so long in the season until we got to that trial last episode. But again, if he would have told the team, they would have been able to protect his daughter. And she was just let out there, and they forgot to protect the family during the trial. Okay. It's the same mentality, the same writer's mentality of, oh, we don't need to train Felicity because she's Overwatch. She'll never be out in the field. Well, then don't put her in the field. Because if you put her in the field, exactly, Chris, she's a liability. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get back to the hideout. And first off, this is a very action-packed episode. It's why we're still not done. There's still one action piece left. One of the reasons this part I liked. I liked how much action there was in this episode. Felicity actually gets her hack trace back, and they find the hideout. And Diaz shows up with an army, and Anatoly is there. And I don't blame Anatoly for being there. Earlier, Diaz confronts Anatoly, and Anatoly was able to twist it to make it seem as though the woman from the quadrant had betrayed Diaz. And I thought he did that really well. Like, he was able to help Oliver, but then still live to the end of the episode. I thought that was brilliant.
And gain Diaz's trust along the way. I don't know if trust, but Diaz appears to believe in his loyalty, I guess is the best way to phrase that.
And it's a good reminder of the fact that Anatoly's a smart guy. He knows how to play the game. He knows how to play people. While he might not be the most physical person on a battlefield, he's got the mind to outthink people.
And we learned that the hideout isn't fully stocked because they don't have regular gas masks. Because Diaz fills it with tricelic gas.
Well, in all fairness, it was a Helix base of operation. It wasn't necessarily the Crybabies. They just inherited it from Helix.
No, they installed places for their uniforms. So they had been making improvements.
Well, they just haven't got around to the gas mask. I mean, there's only the 3 of them. And Renee had been out for several weeks.
So it basically goes to show how little they learned from being with Oliver, and they wanted to be better.
Well, we don't call them the Crybabies for nothing.
That is true. Now, there is a secret exit to the building, of course.
Everyone needs a bolt hole.
Yeah. Felicity learns that the drive that needs to be decrypted has all this financial information and could free everybody because it seems as though it's, Diaz has all this bribery thing going on and the information on this one thing could liberate the city, which is why she wants to stay. What do we think of this, SP?
So I get why she wanted to say. I mean, she started the encryption already. She couldn't stop it. If she would have started the encryption on a laptop, maybe at least it could have kept going and it would have been portable. It would have taken longer ultimately, but they wouldn't have lost it. And that's exactly what happened. They did lose it. I think it was an entire MacGuffin for this episode, unless it comes back next episode. I don't think it is, because that's how they're going to bring him down. Al Capone style. Wow, this Untouchables metaphor is really working in this episode.
Keeps working, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do. And I get why she is trying to do that. But if she's going to do that, then the entire team needs to defend her. It needs to be a protect the queen or king on a chessboard. And they don't. And they try, half of them try to bolt. And Oliver stays behind with Felicity.
Yeah, that was my concern too. Like you said, if this is so important, why do you tell everyone else to run? You need to defend the base.
Yeah, and Diaz finds Oliver and Felicity in the stairwell because Oliver finally convinces her that they'll find another way somehow. And Diaz is there and he beats up Oliver a little bit. And then Felicity says, click it. Curtis, see, here's another thing. Curtis rigged the place to blow. So they've obviously, again, been making their own little improvements to the lair. And somehow, I'm still trying to figure out how Oliver and Felicity got out, and they got to do the whole, good guys, in front of the explosion thing.
Magic?
You're trying to figure out how Diaz survived that, right? Because he was left in the building. All I can think of is shaped charges, and he avoided a blast. It was just by luck. That's all I can think of. And because you need him around for the next episode. Yeah,
because the way everything exploded, like the first boom actually happened above Felicity and Oliver because they were in a stairwell, and then Diaz was above them, and then it goes boom. So I'm trying to figure out how Oliver and Felicity got up and out when it seems as though wasn't the stairwell like they didn't plan that out very well, did they?
Because plot, to steal a phrase from Neil. No, in all seriousness, I figured it would take longer.
Yeah, so the Helix bunker was half underground anyway, so I can see them needing to go up to go out.
Right, that's not my issue. My issue is when the grenade goes off, it goes off near Diaz, who is at the top of the stairwell. Yeah. Felicity and Oliver how did they climb up and out and somehow, because they get out of the building before it explodes, and then for some reason they're surprised Diaz lived, but it's like if Felicity and Oliver got out, then of course Diaz got out, and then I really feel sorry for all those Argus soldiers who were just left behind.
Yeah, that's true. There was a lot of time between when the button was pushed and when that building had the giant explosion at the end, so I don't know whether that button set off one shaped charge conveniently and then a timer for the rest of them, or if it's just a series of shaped charges started going off and they got out right as the last charge went off behind them. It looked cool on screen, so I mean, we got that going for us. It just might not have made the most sense logically.
Well, I think the charges could have been set by the same people that set the charges for Detroit Silverdome. Fair. And it took a couple of times before it actually came down. For those of you unaware, in December of 2017, Detroit's Silverdome was supposed to be imploded. They actually set off charges, and the building was still standing. So they had to blow it up again.
Well, after the cool explosion, they end up at Argus, always at Argus. And they're like, we don't have a plan now. And Oliver is like, I have a plan. And he goes to Agent Watson, the FBI agent who was at the beginning of the season, kind of showed up maybe halfway and then disappeared. And he tells her all these things. And she's like, I need 2 things from you. And she's like, say the words. And I guess this is his I am Iron Man moment. Kind of.
I guess.
For now. I mean, he told one person. I think there's still potential at the very end for him to have a larger on-screen unmasking, and I'm Oliver Queen, I'm the Green Arrow, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the other thing is that she asked for either. I don't know if it's for her personal gain or perhaps maybe an autograph. I don't know.
It's that he'll go to jail when it's all said and done. I mean, I don't know. This is not his last ally he could have gone to. Slade Wilson's still bumming around out there somewhere. Slade Wilson's the friggin' one-man army, even without Mirakuru in his blood. Granted, they're not allowed to use him anymore. But yeah. But the better question is, if all of the city people are corrupt in Star City, how does he think Diaz doesn't have his claws into the feds that are based out of Star City also? Why wouldn't...
Because he takes over the quadrant, basically, because he kills the woman, and then the 2 other members of the quadrant just walk into the police station. Why don't they have their own armies with them? I do not understand. He kills another one, and then there's only one guy standing. So there are 2 members of the quadrant. We have half a quadrant.
Yeah.
Well, and not really even half a quadrant. It's like a quarter of a quadrant, because I don't think you can say that Diaz is a quadrant member of the original. I don't know. Maybe you can. He wants to take over, though. So he gets his wish and everybody capitulates or dies. And he is supposedly the head of the quadrant. Now, you mentioned Argus a little while ago, Michelle. I just want to bring up, does anybody love that like stock video footage of the one helicopter going over the Argus building? It's always the same season. It's not winter or spring or summer. It's just whatever, I guess summer. And the one helicopter is going over every single time. You guys like that?
It's a night without any sort of precipitation anywhere. So it could be winter, spring, summer, or fall.
There's green
All you
grass.
have to do is call Argus.
There's green grass.
Well, you can have green grass in the winter. We live in the Midwest. Come on.
Put enough fertilizer down. It'll be green.
What do we think of Oliver's plan of going to the FBI? I'm not sure. I don't understand why the federal government isn't already involved. I don't know how the
city
federal...
was incommunicado for like a week or week and a half, and the feds aren't involved. Come on.
What type of U.S. government do we have in the Arrowverse? Like, does it even...
Well, technically, I mean, they say they're the United States, but technically this is filmed in Vancouver, so it's like a Canadian government. It's not the American government.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Basically, the Arrowverse U.S. government is basically non-existent.
That's not true, because in the Arrowverse, you do have a president.
Yes. And you do have that shadowy Men in Black-esque agency that takes care of, Dominators and stuff.
Yeah, why can't they help with Star City stuff?
I'm thinking the remnants of the Time Bureau should come in and help them out. I mean, their finale was weeks ago. They could come in and help. Oh, by the way, Sarah's back next episode. Did you forget that?
Yeah,
No.
Maybe because Quentin might show up next episode, or Laurel. Quentin, who's gone after this next episode, doesn't even show up in the penultimate episode, which makes me wonder, Uh-oh, what bad is about to happen?
Go kill him.
He gonna die.
It's the only way out of the Arrowverse. You have to die.
Sure seems that way.
Yeah. Any last thoughts about the episode? Anything you want to talk about? SP?
If it wasn't, I believe I said this already, if it wasn't for the rest of the season from November to April, this episode wouldn't have been that bad, right? And I think we're all just having a problem getting over the story as it got to this point. And then some of the choices within the episode. I mean, why do you go to the FBI? Why do you go to Agent Watson? I mean, they did reach out to her once and she said she wouldn't help, or they couldn't get a hold of her. I can't remember one or the other. And all of a sudden she's the savior. I just don't think, I think she could be bought off too, because if she isn't bought off by Diaz, I think she's bought off by the Quadrant. So am I excited about the finale? No, I've been more excited about other seasons finales for Arrow. And I just want it to be, I'm going to go round circle here, go back to the start. As long as they set up season 7 with the finale here, I think that's the best we can do.
Agreed. I'm more excited to see where they're going to go with season 7. I'm ready to be done with season 6 right now. It's been an interesting ride at times, but it's been fairly sloppy. So let's get it wrapped up. Let's see what this super game-changing event is that Mark Guggenheim's been talking about coming for season 7. Let's hope it's more of Oliver's publicly outed as Green Arrow and is going to go to prison versus an Olicity baby or something like that.
Yeah. My biggest problem with this season has been, how did Diaz get into this position? We understood how Caden James worked, and then all of a sudden Caden James isn't the big bad. We get a new one in Diaz, and somehow he is frightening everybody. He has Black Siren in a corner. I'm just like, I know he's the big bad, but I'm like, why and how? And because of that, his threats seem empty. I don't know if that makes sense.
He seems more like a pestilent child than a criminal mastermind. And that's not saying anything against Kirk, the actor. He's doing a wonderful job with the character. He really is. I mean, if I came face to face with Diaz, I'd be scared. And that's saying something. So I think the portrayal of the character is good. I think the method of where he got to where he is, that's where your problem is, right, Michelle? Because you just we didn't get the background when we needed it.
Yeah. Kirk did an amazing job. All the actors are doing the best they can with what they're given. And Kirk has added things to the script. I am afraid of him. But I just would like to know how he got so dangerous. Because, yeah, I'm just like, how did this happen? How did he get everybody? He's got politicians and the police. How did he do it so quickly? I'm just like,
with no one knowing, especially Caden James, the super hacker who has his fingers into everything. Did Diaz just kind of take part of the structure that James had in place and maneuver that to get what he needed? I agree. I want to know how.
Yeah, there's a lot of missing information. Like, he's got something over everybody, and how exactly is that? Like you said, the police should be banding together to combat him, and they're not. So, oh well.
Well, hopefully some of our questions, probably not all of our questions, but some of our questions are answered in the season finale, which is called Life Sentence. It's season 6, episode 23. It will air Thursday, May 17th, 2018. With a new ally on his team, Oliver engages Diaz in an epic final battle. Directed by one of our favorites, James Bamford, and written by the former co-showrunners, Wendy Miracle and Mark Guggenheim. We are part of a larger network, and we have a lot of different podcasts on our network. Chris, why don't you highlight one of them for us?
Sure, like Michelle was saying, we've got a lot of shows on the network, and we can't very well tell you about all of them each week because that would be a show in and of itself, describing what's going on. But what we can do is give you a little taste of another show on the network, say, hey, here's what's going on here. Maybe you should go check that out. And this time, we're talking about the Super Geeky Playdate, specifically episode 71, entitled Chronicles of Darkness, Mind Over Manor. In this episode, Ty Parallax Bailey brings us back through the Alaskan wilderness to a mysterious manor. Will our heroes survive long enough to make dick jokes? Plus, the Maddie K Minute returns. So you can go check out Super Geeky Playdate and the 25 plus other shows that make up the Gonna Geek Network by heading on over to GonnaGeek.com. But looking at the time and at our show notes right now, it is time for us to start wrapping things up. But before we get out of here, a giant thank you to all of the live listeners who participated in our chat room over at geeks.live. Also, a thank you to everyone who downloads the podcast episodes from StarlingTribune.com or watches the video replays available at youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
If you have an Amazon device, one of those round things that sit on your table or your countertop, you can enable our podcast as a skill. All you have to do is say whatever the activation word is, enable the Starling Tribune skill. And then remember, you can catch us live as we record at www.geeks.live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Sundays.
We would love to hear from you. We are the Starling Tribune on Facebook and Instagram, at Starling Tribune on Twitter, and you can call us at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283. Well, this brings us to the end of another great episode. Any last words before we sign off? At Stargate Pioneer.
Hashtag bulletproof furniture.
At the Chris Farrell.
Hashtag relationship goals.
And I am at Michelle Ely signing off with hashtag T Manitoli. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at GonnaGeek.com or check out our archive at StarlingTribune.com. Visit GonnaGeek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at Incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.